Hello.
Hello.
Looks like we don't have anything specific to this group. In the agenda, everything, I was 10 minutes into watching this morning's meeting.
Yeah, I have one thing. We are at the US West is what we're calling this, right?
Yeah.
US. I don't know if you've seen this, but Brent just announced his resignation. So.
Oh. Well, that sucks.
Yep. So I wanted to share that here because that was, I think, was quite relevant for this effort.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have a one-on-one with him in about 20 minutes now. So
yeah.
All right. Were you in the APAC meeting, Fabian?
No, I can't. It's like 4 a.m. my morning.
I was
Oh,
there.
I'm sorry. You're still, that's right. You're in the US right now.
So I was there, Craig. Why? Do you need to know something?
No. I was reading through the agenda and I was about 10 minutes into the video this morning. I think they only got 2 bullet point 3. I was just wondering if there was any surprises, anything that came out of the meeting I should be aware of.
I have to still read it. It sounds like there was good discussion. That's kind of the gist.
Yeah.
Hey, Camille. So I'm not sure there's any particular action item for us in here today.
No.
But I can ask Camille because he was there earlier. Is there anything specific for us from the earlier call?
I don't think so. I think rather like we are continuing with the POC. One of the interesting is like that Dylan probably gonna look at the security set of the features because this is probably like one of the bigger risks with the decomposition that we need to probably engage security team earlier. So Dylan will be looking at that. I, with Tong, will be working on the POC with the intent that we kind of see how far we got, and out of this POC we start creating issue and work items for like us and other people to kind of like start fixing these things that are pretty apparent to be broken, and continuously like discussing like the things like how we want to approach them.
Okay, but it sounds to me as if nobody is blocked right now.
No, I think we are fine at this moment. I just expect like to have significantly more issues and like discussions and like the fan out items like early next week once we start like summarizing the POC.
Sounds good. Jun, do you want to vocalize your comment?
Yeah, I'm trying to compile a interim report, just monitoring the progress every day of discovered items. Maybe I will move this table to the top until we conclude this effort. And already there is one item identified that as a blocker, which is this one. And I think Craig already worked with Jake, the EM of that product management team, to schedule it for 14.2. And other things, I think I code out the links here. If someone is available, please look at those questions or things to see if there is items to work on. If there are, please also identify if they're blockers or they're nice to have. Blocker means the blocker for the first iteration. So we only want to work on the critical issues for the first iteration. Then highlight those to either me or Craig. I will work with other teams, directors and the EMs to get them scheduled as soon as possible. And the distribution team already started, already scheduled the Omnibus and the CNG for 14.2. That's updated yesterday. So they will work on those two issues in parallel. Described here. Yeah, that's my update. Any questions? Okay, Fabian's frozen.
Sorry, I conked out there for a little while.
Oh, Camille added a new comment. So this one, Tom said is blocking our moving the text table.
I don't think so. Like, I think we can still move it, and it's gonna have like minimal impact on the projects. It's like in some cases, project will just read from another database, so this can be like acceptable technical debt, but I don't think that it's gonna be critical. It's more gonna be like medium thing to solve over time.
Well,
Okay.
Jake's team schedule it for 14.2, so they
If they
prioritize
can
the
do
work.
it, if they can do it, it's fine. But then the question is like, if we're not gonna have something more critical than this once we finish POC. So at least now, I don't consider this to be critical. It's more like the inconvenience that like we can deal with.
Okay, Craig, maybe we can talk offline what we want to do with Jake's team, maybe.
I'd say they pick it up. Just we don't need the back and forth of, oh, is this a problem or is it not? Let's just let them have it scheduled for 14.2 and finish it.
Yes. Okay. So yes, my opinion would be like, let's make them schedule that, because maybe if we find something more important, we're just gonna swap that to something more important.
Yeah.
But like we would still allocate the capacity.
Yeah, cool. And also along the same line, I just pinged Todd, the secure development director of the nodes below here in the meeting earlier. So Camille, you mentioned that Dylan and Tom will work with the secure team to identify the broken features. So I pinged Todd on that in our working group Slack channel.
Okay, I think it will be mostly Dylan for time being, looking at that.
Yeah, so basically we got Todd notified, so hopefully he will activate his teams sooner. I don't know, maybe already activated, but just no issues under that epic from the security. So just want to make sure they are working on that.
Yes, the tricky part is still like pretty early, like to engage them, because I think we need Dylan to like take a look at the POC and like what was changed, and kind of like create an issue and kind of summary of the needed changes on from one of the like set of the high level aspects. So let's see how it goes, but at least in my head, we need to give Dylan like 2 or 3 days like to go through that first, because before he can engage with the secure.
Okay. Yeah, feel free to chime in that thread in our working group channel. It's not a Sharding group channel, it's a working group channel. So you were pinged on that thread. Thank you. That's all from me.
My last comment is that I will continue my video production journey, and I'll record the kickoff call today. So I'll post it later.
Wow. Sorry, I missed your first bullet, Fabian. What's a surprise?
Is it?
It is. It is a big surprise to me.
Yeah, that's very sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. York, did you have anything you want to cover?
No, I'm just writing a reply on the schema proposal from Camille. I'm just going to summarize it in there. There's no real point in here, I think, discussing it.
Yeah.
Short story is I don't see the point. And that's me being very frank. I read it back and forth. Unless I misunderstand something, it strikes me as wasted effort, basically. But I'll put that in issue comment, and we can discuss it there, I suppose.
Yes, I think like Yorick, I'm kind of looking like for like the proposal, how we can approach that, because like it's kind of like interconnected organism, that we are doing that for more reasons in the future. So if you have some proposal on how to approach that differently, if you could like document that, it would be very like useful like to discuss that and how it plays like with our plans for the migration, like managing structures, keeping coherency, and all of that stuff. It's like
Yeah,
schema.
so
Like schema is like one of the ways to do it. It's not the only ways. It just makes some things easier, some things harder. But if you have like something better, I'm up for it. So
the summary of what I'm writing, and it's a little difficult to write because there's a whole bunch of different things being discussed. Actually, there's the sort of isolated step of now we're actually discussing it. There's the isolated step of how are we going to move tables? Are we going to move them to a database first, or a separate schema on the same database, and then a separate database? And FYI, when I'm talking about schemas, I'm talking about the PostgreSQL DDL schemas, not the schema.rb files in Rails. Then there's the thing, okay, how are we going to split up structure.sql so that we can support multiple databases? Then this is the part, how are we going to detect if a, say, certain table is used in a cross host way where we join or whatever, and a few other things. Apart from that first one of schemas versus databases, regardless of what approach we take, all the others applies the same. Like there's the same steps, the same problems. So for example, if we want to split structure.sql in, say, CI structure SQL and just structure SQL or main.sql, whatever you call it, regardless of whether we put all the tables in the public schema on 2 different hosts, or if we put them in a public schema and then the CI schema on the same host, the work we need to do on our application side is identical. If anything, I would probably suspect it's actually easier by using a separate database host, because as far as I understand, Rails already has this functionality built in where per connection, you can configure migration paths, structure paths, schema paths, etc. So you can tell, hey, this connection, dump structure.sql in this directory, but for the other one, dump it over there. Whereas if we use different PostgreSQL schemas, I don't think it supports that. I think at that point, we would have to write custom code where we say, oh, for tables in the CI schema, put them in this file. For tables in the public schema, put them in that file. Or just put them all in the same one.
It's actually like more like there is like many sides to that. Like you can configure that anyway, how you create structures. But this is also like related with how we're gonna migrate data and like how gonna migration of the data look on the production.
Right.
But like if we talk about the schema, you can configure that pgdump when executed gonna follow schema search box. If this is your intent and it's gonna work like that. So,
right, but so
like
ultimately,
you can model all of that like in any way. Is it common or separate? How you maintain coherency between structures, whether this is structure SQL is like single big one, or is it like only a part of the tables? Let's discuss that. That's I see like
sure, because I don't want to keep everybody here, but that is true. Like you can do all that, but it sounds a bit harsh. But you can also make a pig pretty by putting lipstick on it. It doesn't necessarily mean it's beneficial. In this case, from what I understand, if we focus exclusively on moving a certain set of tables to a different database and just keep it in a public schema, the work we need to do on the application is the same. And more importantly, it is known like Rails has support for multiple databases. It's support for multiple schema search paths. I am a little skeptical. Maybe it works, but that's part of the problem. We don't know. We do know it supports different connections. We also don't really know how the database load balancer will play with this. We know PG Bouncer has support for this, but we've never tried it before. So there's a lot of unknowns. But the benefits, they're the same as moving to a different database, because the work, the things we discover, they are all the same. So I'll try to capture that in the comments, because as far as I understand it now, we will basically end up doing the same foundational work, but then have twice the data migrations. Once to move this to a separate schema on the same host, and then to a different database. Now we can decide not to do that, to just move it to both a different database and schema at the same time. But then it brings the question, why did we bother with different schemas in the first place? Because it ends up in a different database anyway. But I'll try to capture that in the comments.
what we're gonna do as for the migration, we're just gonna move everything. We're gonna stream everything to another.
Right, but so in production state, you still need to move the data, right? In your local environment, both approaches are trivial. On staging and production, both are basically a nightmare. And at least when I'm given the choice, have two nightmares versus one, I prefer to just have one.
So where can I follow along on this discussion then?
Let me link the issue. Where did the doc go? Today's the 14th. Here we go. Schema issue. I added it to the agenda.
Okay.
Still writing the comment. What I'll probably do is write it. Yeah, I'll try to keep it on one comment instead of a stream of thoughts, basically.
Okay. Thank you. All right, there's nothing else.